have 4 pretty and easy to sew knit skirts behind me, and we're going to be talking types of waistbands, hemming, twin needling, mitered corners, a variety of fun sewing aspects with these, so keep watching. Hi sewing friends, my name is Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing. Here you will always find a large variety of practical content that could always help you in your sewing at home. I'm very excited today to share with you some skirts, very easy to make skirts, and they were a good palette cleanser. They are a great palette cleanser when you've been heavily focused on more involved makes. So a couple of weeks ago, I was a pattern tester for Itch to Stitch again. I hadn't been a pattern tester for a little while, since the jeans, I believe. And these are some skirts. They're called Balboa Skirts. This is a new pattern release from Itch to Stitch. It's called Balboa Skirt. It's for knit fabrics, easy to sew. There are 13 views available there, and because it's just released, it's 20% off. Some of them don't have a center seam, and others do. The ones that do have a center front seam and a center back seam allow you to cut the fabric on the bias, and then you can sort of play with chevrons and your knit fabrics to have stripes, or just for a different look, you can cut them on the bias. Straight skirt, A-line skirt, one with a ruffle, one with a single flounce, a double flounce, handkerchief. The A-line one can be a maxi skirt. I really like having options available and that they're open for the test. I could just sign up and sew the one that I wanted to sew. And I made 2 during testing. I made the double flounce skirt. I thought that was interesting and something I hadn't seen. And handkerchief skirt. Now they all have in common that they're designed to be made with knit fabrics, bottom weight knit fabrics. So depending on the view that you're sewing, what type of knit fabric you want, I think the straight skirt, the A-line skirt, can be made with maybe a nice quality cotton lycra that doesn't drape, because those styles don't need that. But if you were making the single flounce, a double flounce, you do need a knit that drapes. So maybe a little bit lighter weight but drapey, and you know, you have to play and touch. But anything from Ponte to athletic knits, ITY, French terry. I chose Rayon spandex, which is sometimes not recommended ever because it's hard to work with and it's hard for it to look flattering actually. Whenever I sew with lightweight Rayon spandex, I just wear a slip and that fixes any issue. And you can find beautiful prints, and the fabric drapes beautifully for the styles that I've chosen. So I've chosen Rayon spandex, obviously, and I'll let you know at the end I chose another one for a bonus one that I made. You can see the sizing on the screen goes from 00 to 20 US. When you look at body measurements, there's 0 ease at the waist. The waistband that is attached to all these skirts is the same waistband, and there is an elastic inside, so you can regulate how snug you want it to be on your body, but the finished piece itself will be the size of your waist. I chose a straight size 14 for the skirts that I made, and for the double flounce, which has a top pattern piece and then 2 bottom ones. There was instructions of how to lengthen that, and you can lengthen this skirt if you need it longer than the original, which I always do. You can add at the hem, but because these shapes are very wide, when you add to the length on wide pieces like that, it ends up taking up more width on the fabric. And I was super conscious about the fabric I had available. So there is a shorten and lengthen line around the hip area as well. So I decided to add there 2 inches instead, just to have the top part of the skirt longer, and then keep the flounces the original length that they have, and so that they don't become wider. For the handkerchief version, I noted that it was meant to hit sort of midi length when I measured, and I'm taller. And if I don't adjust for height, it'll probably end up a little bit shorter on myself, and I wanted that. I wanted the skirt a little bit shorter. I didn't want like a midi length skirt because they don't suit me. In Up Close and So Personal, I'm going to be showing you a lot of fun things that could help you with your knit sewing. Not necessarily just skirts, you know, it could be any project that you're working with knit fabric. I'm going to show you the original instructions for the waistband on this skirt that is the same to the Lindy skirt, a free pattern that is available from Itch to Stitch. And I have filmed a full beginner friendly sew along for this pattern in 2018. So the technique for the waistband is also on that video, but I did film it again in this one. And then you can see 2 other ways to do the waistbands on the skirt if you want other choices. It's always good to have choices when you're sewing. You might like some techniques over others, and that always happens to me when I'm sewing, and I like to have options. That's why I like sharing options with you, so you can see, try, test, and see what you like, so that you can apply them later to your own sewing in skirts, pants, shorts, anything that you're making out of knit fabric. You can adjust and change the way that you sew waistbands. I'm also going to show you a little trick about twin needling, and it's got to do with the type of twin needle and the type of result that you might get, and just a myriad of really practical things. So let's hop into that. All the pattern pieces already cut out. They were all cut on the fold. That is the front and the back already right sides together. This is the top part where the waist goes and then where the hips start going down. This is the top flounce. They are also both cut on the fold, and they're different, the front and the back. They're not exactly the same. And then this larger piece at the bottom is the bottom flounce. So it's like in 3 steps. It's not ruffles, it's flounces. It's going to give a really nice streamlined look. Up there is the back waistband and the front waistband. And so basically side seams need to be sewn on all of these. And then I'm going to start by just putting this one onto that one, sewing it on the round, and then that one onto that one, just sewing them all on the round. And it's just going to be a super easy skirt to put together. And then the hem. And when I get to the waistband, I'll show you how that's done, because it's a little bit different. It has an elastic inside. I wanted to show you how the 2 ends of the elastic are put together. So it's different to what you've seen. Usually there's like an overlap and you zigzag and sew, and then you get like this bulky area on the elastic. Well, this time you just cut a little piece of woven fabric. They give you a measurement there, 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and you just look at it and you divide it in half. So you put half of that there, and then the other one you sort of just put it right there, like butt it next to it right there. And so then you go ahead and do a whole bunch of stitching to hold it in place, and then you get a really flat elastic. You can see this, I've done it on the other elastic that I'm doing. It doesn't have to be pretty, but it does have to be functional. And you can see that this keeps it in place and really flat, so you're not going to have like a bulky area around the waist with the elastic. So I think this is genius. The way this is sewn onto the waistband is the same as the Lindy pedal skirt. So I've just divided the waistband in 4. I've divided this elastic in 4. You know, you've got 2 round things. The waistband's going to be larger than the elastic, and I'm just serging them together on the edge. So one of the raw edges of the waistband, just choose whichever, it doesn't matter. And then I go stretching the elastic slightly to match the length of the waistband underneath. And then I just serge it together, trying not to like trim off the elastic or anything. So you can see the excess there, it's longer than the elastic. The elastic, I just tried it on my waist and found what was snug but comfortable, so I don't want to be super tight or super loose. I opted to leave this area here on the center back so that when I hold my skirt I can feel for it and I know that's the center back. I don't have like labels or anything to signify the back, and I might get confused. You can see that on one side of the waistband the elastic has been sewn on, serged on at the same time, and then you have this other area that doesn't have the elastic, and that is what's going to be sewn onto the skirt, this bit there. I have sewn the main seams of the double flounce skirt. You can see the darker areas there are the seams and the side seams. all these seams are being pressed to the back. You can see that was pressed to the back, that was pressed to the back before sewing them onto each other. So first I sewed these two together, and then once all that was sewn, I sewed it onto there. You've just seen how I've done this waistband, and this raw area there is the one that's going to go attached on the top there, right sides together. I've sewn that raw area of the waistband that I had there to the skirt, so I've got right sides together of the skirt with the waistband. I did have a B there marked for back, so that I knew that this was the back waistband to match with the back of the skirt. I've been using a shallow zigzag to do all these seams, so it's very small, like the width of it is just 0.5 and then length is 2. So that's the type of zigzag there, and it'll allow stretch. And this is the other side that was just sewn, and now all this waistband now needs is to be folded in, tuck that seam allowance in, meet these seams there on the side, and then this just needs to be stitched in the ditch right there on both sides, so this side and the other side, and that's it. This will be left inside like that. Like when you're wearing it, this elastic inside will cover that seam, and it's not going to flip out or anything. The handkerchief skirt has different pieces for front and back, and on this pointy bit, that's where it's on the fold there, and then it goes off like that. On the front and the back, it'll finish up in like a little point there, and that's finished later with a mitered corner. I've got my fabric, the selvages are there, the fold is over there, and I've just placed it like that. I'm trying to optimize a larger scrap to have left over, so that's why I've done it like that. But it'll be super easy, just side seams, a waistband and a hem. This second skirt, I'm just doing an alternative waistband finish that is just simpler to do. I just grabbed the waistband, folded it wrong sides together, and just sewed it all along the top, leaving an opening. You can see there I didn't serge this bit or sew it, so it's just completely open, and through there I can just thread the elastic through. I'm still going to unite it with the woven fabric like the original instructions, and then once the elastic is in there, then I'm just going to finish and serge and sew, and then I'll just have a different type of waistband. I think because this fabric is so flimsy, I think this method works better than the other one. This method is better suited for lightweight knits, and yeah, that's why I'm just doing an alternative way. The skirt's still going to look the same, it's going to feel the same, it's just sewn differently. This is the bottom, the pointy bit of the handkerchief skirt, so you can tell that that's where it goes on the fold, as I got this one there. So you'll see these two circles. What I did to make it easier was just fold this up on the middle of the circle. So on both sides, you can see I'm right in the middle of that circle, and I just placed that there and then drew a line, because that's exactly where I needed to sew. So the instructions say like to sew from the center of the circle to the other one, and instead of drawing the circle, I just folded it there right in the middle. I've done the same with both sides, so one's the front, one is the back. Okay, so this angle that the point forms on the front and the back is not a 90-degree angle when it's folded, so cut a little piece so you can see how it's going to look on the front like that. So that's how it's going to look. But if you compare it here, if this were a 90-degree angle, this would go right there. This is an obtuse angle, so it's greater than 90 degrees, so doing the mitered corner is not that straightforward if you don't get told where to sew. So it's great that that is there, so you're going to have that really nice mitered corner. These two types of twin needles, you can see one of them, the needles are closer together, and the other one they're further apart. Now I have them both in the same packet, so I don't really know what number belongs to which number there, but I can tell the difference in the width. And so I'm just going to show you what the difference is between them. I have found that with lightweight fabrics, the ones that are closer together work better, and when the fabric is more structured, that one works better. But I just want to show you how it looks on Rayon spandex. This is the fabric I'm using for the skirts, Rayon spandex. I'm just going to fold it back to pretend it's like a hem. and this is the needle that's closer together, so there's less space between them. Now I've had better results increasing the stitch length to 3.5 when I twin needle. So you can see it looks really nice. It looks really flat. There's no like tunneling or anything weird going on there. And now I'm going to change and put the other one so you can see the difference and how terrible it looks. I'll always practice on a scrap before I sew my hem so that I know that I'm going to like what I'm going to sew. So let's see the difference here. Okay, it's not terrible, but you can see how it raises the middle there in between the two stitches and how here it's totally flat. I'm not sure if you can see, but there's definitely tunneling there in between the two parallel stitches, and I don't think that looks nice. It looks terrible. So that's why I've chosen to use this one, and that looks really nice actually. I put the two original waistbands just together so you can see the total length that would be on the fold, although these are cut separately, but I just did this so you can compare. I've got my heavy cotton spandex there on the fold, and you can see how much shorter it is. It's just going to have a shorter length. It's going to have about 3 inches of negative ease around my natural waist measurement, and that would just bring it in without having to use elastic. It is wider also. So this is 4.5 inches wide by whatever length is comfortable. This is my yoga waistband, and I've just made a seam there, 3/8 seam allowance, and then I'm just going to fold that wrong sides together and just mark this into 4 pieces, quarters. You have to quarter your skirt accordingly, but just don't assume that the side seams are the quarters there. You know, the front and the back pattern pieces are different in this skirt, for the flounces, for the skirt pieces, for everything, even for the original waistband. Now this is just a little cheetah's waistband, and I'm just having a center back seam, but I'm still dividing it into 4. I've got the skirt inside the waistband, and the waistband's going to be shorter, so there's going to be excess waist there. So as I serge, I'm going to be stretching out my waistband to meet, but I won't be stretching out this. And it will just be serge around and then sew with a little zigzag there. This one will be a mashup of the A-line skirt and the single flounce skirt, only I'm going to do the A-line front just plain, and on the back I'm going to have the single flounce. So it's just mixing 2 versions so that I have a flounce only at the back. And I did pin that to that with the 3/8 seam allowance and compared the length of the side seams if this was going to match the A-line skirt, and it's the same length, it'll match perfectly. So I don't need to actually adjust anything to get these to fit together. The technique in the pattern to join the elastic with a piece of woven fabric behind, as you saw, I think is genius. I would have never thought about doing that. Never in a million years would I have come up with that. It's definitely something I will adopt in the future when I sew other things that need an elastic joint instead of overlapping and zigzagging and having that bulky thing there. This is something that you could incorporate, you know, for a lot of things, and I'm glad I became aware of this idea with this pattern, and I love that in sewing. So the first one that you saw was the double flounce, and I had to force myself to make a solid one. I had to really force myself. I had some solid rayon spandex. I love blue. I have blue things that match on the top, and it's just a color that I love. It's just hard for me to actually sew these solids because I'm like a print addict. So I have this. This is the top bit there where I did lengthen the 2 inches, and then I left this flounce, and that flounce I left the original. So what I like about this design is that it's slim here at the waist and hips, and then the volume starts coming to the bottom, and at the bottom it's like a full circle at the bottom actually, but not from the top. So it doesn't really look like a full skirt as such. So it's got the best of both worlds. It's slim at the top and the hips, but then it has all this beautiful, beautiful drape and 4 there. I have done twin needle hem there. It's just so nice in blue, and I'm glad I actually got my solid and sewed it. This is the one that has the original waistband in the instructions, and I have to be honest, this is not a favorite technique of mine. I didn't enjoy sewing it with the Lindy pedal skirt when I made it 2 years ago, and after wearing it for a while, I did remove it and just sew it normally. And this is a legit technique. I had a skirt like this probably in 2010 when I used to work as a midwife in New Zealand. It was a black pencil skirt made out of ponte, and it had this type of waistband. And I remember using it non-stop. You know, I used that skirt until it had holes and it ripped, and you know, I remember that technique on that from ready to wear. I myself don't like it, but I did sew it because it is a pattern test. The thing is, it looks really flat and it looks really neat when you're wearing it. Like, it's not going to flip out when you're wearing it. But just the fact that I know that it's like this, sort of exposed, it's not a favorite feature of mine. And you can tack it down by hand because it's supposed to cover that seam like that. And I think in a more structured fabric like a ponte, this waistband would be more structured. But then I wouldn't have made a ponte skirt in this style either. And this is the style that I wanted to make. And yeah, it's not a favorite waistband of mine, I have to be honest. But you know, easy fixable. I did show you other ways, even using the same pattern piece provided. You saw that for the handkerchief, I did it differently. But I don't know, maybe I will go ahead and take this out and remove it and change it. But for now, it's like it's supposed to be. And you know, it's all personal preference. There are people that absolutely love this technique. They think it's really good. I just don't like it myself, but that's just my opinion. So let's see how this one fits. I styled it in different ways. It's going to be super versatile in my wardrobe. Here I've tried to dress down my skirt with my Atenas denim jacket and a colourful top that matches and my navy espadrilles. So this is my way of dressing something down. I mean, this is a skirt I could wear everywhere, dress it up, dress it down, and I love it. Dress down version. This is the second skirt that I made in testing, the handkerchief one, and I love this print so much. Rayon spandex. You already saw partial of this, you know, in the video, and you can see these pointy bits here in the front and the back. So it's an asymmetric hem. I would say this has the volume maybe of a half circle skirt by the way it drapes. But it's not a circle, you know, it's totally square here and pointy, and I love that. I love stuff like that. So the mitered corners are super neat like that, and I did the twin needle hem. For lighter weight knits, look for the needles that are just closer together. The ones that are further apart tend to give you tunneling. But I do use that one when I use ponte or other thicker fabrics. I do use the needles that are further apart. And this is the one that I sewed the same waistband pieces. It's the same pattern pieces from the skirt, only I just sewed it on like you would commonly, just together. It's very neat and clean, and everything is like closed inside. And the elastic is inside. I did unite the elastic with the woven piece like the original pattern had, because I really like that. And that is this one, and I love it so much. these are the best projects to sew. So satisfying, you know, so easy, so fast. They look so nice, and you're actually gonna wear them a lot because they're so comfortable. And I'd made my 2 skirts during pattern test, and now a couple of weeks have gone by and I've made 2 more. I made them today. I was rushing against the sunset because it's ridiculous. It's winter now, and sunset happens around 5:15, 5:20 in the afternoon. So the day is super short, and I'm like rushing out of the house to get nice pictures and video. And it was already super dark, and there's no way I could have gotten good images. But oh well. I made another one that is a double flounce. And now I've been thinking about this for ages. I wanted to use up some scraps because this one uses lots of pieces that are smallish, wide but small. So if you had like some lengths of fabrics, like half a yard's left of things that you can't really make any garment with, you could probably get the pieces for this double flounce skirt because it's got a top flounce and a bottom flounce. So I played around and I did some, I'm very embarrassed, but I'm going to put on screen here my toddler type sketching. I am terrible at drawing. I am not an artist in that sense. I consider myself a sewing type artist. I'm very capable with my hands, but not for drawing. So I knew I had those 3 sort of tiers, and I was playing with how to put the fabrics, whether black on top or red on the bottom, the stripes. And for this one, I put a yoga waistband, and that's the one that you saw in Up Close and So Personal. Heavy cotton spandex, 90% cotton, 10% spandex, heavy weight, like a 13-ounce. Very good, like stretch and recovery, awesome for waistbands. So this is my dreamed skirt. I love this so much because I've been picturing it in my mind for ages, having the black on the top, because it's more slimming, it's, you know, more flattering. Then we have vertical stripes. This is leftover from a dress I made. And then red at the bottom. And I think it's a combination that might not be for everyone. I love this color combination of red, black and white. And if there's stripes in there, even better. And look, as always, I went the extra mile there on the side, and I matched them so that I could have chevrons there on the side. Doesn't that look cool? So the stripes are narrow. It took some time, but some pinning. Totally worth it. Love it. And red on the bottom. Now I decided to put red on the bottom because if I want to wear a red top, I think if I have a red top that is not exactly the same tone as this red, I can get away with wearing it anyway because it's not right next to each other. I love projects like this because it's basically made out of rubbish. Scraps of this, scraps of that, and I have a beautiful skirt that is like a statement that would not go unnoticed, that has all the colors I love, and yeah, I love this.
Don't you think this is starting to wear me? You've been raining down like hail. I'm weak. I have tried to give you my soul, but you can't love something you own. It's too late to repair what we made. What can I do? Time flashed by and I woke up on the other side of the moon.
You know that I like to sew with the least amount of resources humanly possible. It's part of my philosophy, part of how I started sewing, and it's continued with me whether I have resources or not. It's just the way that I view sewing. I want to use the least resources possible. And making a whole garment from a bunch of scraps is just the best feeling. It's super satisfying. I mentioned there was 13 options in this skirt, right? 13 options. And I thought, hey, why don't I make a mix of these options? So you saw at the very last bit of Up Close and So Personal that I mixed 2 views. I got the front pattern piece of the A-line skirt, and then for the back I got the single flounce view, which also uses the A-line skirt but partially on the top, and then it has a flounce on the bottom. I think it's a skirt that would look not full. It is an A-line skirt, but it would have some detail on the back, a little bit of swoosh on the back. I think that's really nice. Now for this one, I did not use Rayon spandex. I think for A-line skirts, you can't go too lightweight. So I've got a medium weight supplex. It's an activewear fabric made out of polyamide, 100%. It's a wicking type fabric, very nice to feel actually. Not the cheapest fabric, and the print might not be for you either. It's a bit out there, but I think with skirts you can get away with loud prints if you wear solids on the top. So yeah, ta-da! Look at this. This is a front. So you can see all the colors. It's got loads and loads of colors. I could always wear black on top and just to tone everything down. I think that's the way I would wear a skirt that's as loud as this. And I used the waistband technique that I used for the handkerchief waistband. So using the pattern pieces from the skirt, and I've just sewn it on, left an opening, threaded the elastic, and then closed it through. Super comfortable. So it looks like a regular A-line skirt from the front, but on the back, it's got a flounce there. So it's got a seam there. And you probably not see it because of the print. You can tell when I wear it though that there is an extra type of drape at the back, like different. It's not just up and down like an A-line skirt. So that's how the back looks. You can see there's an extra seam there. This is how the single flounce skirt would be if I did the front and the back like this. It's just that I just did the back, just the back. And then I've got a plain A-line skirt front. Super love how this turned out. I think it's just a little bit different and makes this pattern go even further than the 13 views. If you do this, you have 14 unofficial, like one extra unofficial view. And I like doing things like that.
Don't you think this is starting to wear on me? You've been raining down like hail. I'm weak. I have tried to give you my soul, but you can't love something you own. It's too late to repair what we made. What can I do? Time flashed by and I woke up on the other side of the moon. The sun.
You saw that I've used scraps of stripes for this one, and now I wish I had more stripes in my stash because I would love to make one of the bias cut versions that are available that have center seams. I would love to make a skirt with all the chevrons. I love that. If you like sewing easy skirts that you're gonna wear, that you're gonna be comfortable with, that have a ton of options in one pattern, you might want to try this one. There are lots of styles there that I like, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna like too because they're pretty timeless, pretty classic. Depending on the type of fabric choices that you have, you might end up with 1,000 skirts really. And you know, I was honest, I did not enjoy that waistband. But there are other ways to do the waistband, and it's just a small area of the skirt actually. What matters the most to me are actually the skirt pieces, the skirts, because the waistband is easy to modify. If you like this pattern and you would like to purchase it and support me at the same time, I have an affiliate link in the description box below that you can use at no extra cost to you. I make a tiny commission from there. The next two videos will go back to Let's Make Easy Pants series that is going on my channel, and I'm very excited about it, and I hope you are too. The next two videos will be about fit, and I know you're interested in those topics. So keep your eyes open for the next couple of videos, and I will see you very soon. Bye.